after I get done. Then she can just do that. Okay, guys, welcome to Tea and Tarot at Books, Beans, and Candles. Again, my name is Mitchell. We got Skaji, also known as Tracy, and Stevie, known as Stevie. All right. So just a couple things and make announcements here. What's coming out? We still have the Psychic Fair coming up on September 24th. And with special guest Helen Dugan. So there's some things going on there. So if you're local, you want to come in, we have a big fair. We have all these different readers coming in and different things going on, all different divination disciplines. Yep. So good chance, and it's it's only $15 per ticket, which is per event. So if you want to do some OM or if you want to do some tea leaf reading or that, you pay for each one like a fair. You get a ticket, and that's how that one works. So this will be our 17th one.
And it's a good idea to sign up for your slots in advance, because as we get closer, those appointment sheets are going to fill up really quick.
So you can call at 205-453-4636 and book your space over the phone. So we can set that up for you. That way you're reserved and don't have to worry about it. Anything else coming up besides that, guys? We get the Witches Ball coming on October 22nd. It's a couple more months away. Other than that, I think that's really the main things that are coming up. So today's Tea and Tarot, we're going to do some new spreads. We try to go up with some cool things, sometimes with themes, sometimes without. All right. So the first one we're going to do is mine, and this one it doesn't even have a name. It's sort of a variation of the Celtic Cross, looking nothing like the Celtic Cross, but it has some of the same features of it. So the card 1 here is a situation. 2, you're going to have what crowns us. 3 is the underlying issue. So we jumped underneath. So it's thinking, what crowns us. And that's more like a clarifier. So it's going to be a clarity. Good. And then we have the third one. That's what's underneath. What's the underlying issues that might be help driving it, making things a little more complicated. 4, now that one's going to be what's lying before us. So if you want to say it's your probable future here, what's to come, this is where you're headed. 5 is advice on what is coming. So maybe how you can handle it. So if you like it, embrace it. If not, start changing things. 7, how others view it. And that's one of the things you'll see in the Celtic Cross is that one. Mm-hmm. So the 7 is about how other people are viewing the situation. 8, what do I need to look out for? There's certain things that may help me determine, okay, watch out for this is coming forth. And of course, the 9th card is the actual outcome. All right. So we'll be using the Heaven and Earth deck. I can just remember what I wrote. May have to get Jess to pop that up on the screen again and go, hey. No. It's like, you take a picture of it?
I did.
All right, she just, so did I. That's how she got it. How clever of us. Yes, it is true. Sometimes we sit down before this and figure out, what we're going to do. Sometimes it's astrological, sometimes like Sabbath. Hell, we've even done Monty Python spreads. We've done Princess Bride spreads, Star Wars. So sometimes we do themes, things that would be associated with that, just to help give us a little bit different viewpoints and things like that. I need to really stop looking at the stupid screen down here and look at the camera, or you at least,
So don't look at me.
Yeah, look at the camera. All right. So, Heaven and Earth deck. It is Scarborough. You definitely get this from Ellen. I will say I love the imagery on this deck, but the card stock sucks. It's horrid.
That's a new one.
This is my 3rd deck in a year. Now, I'm not bridging this one, and I'm being much more careful with it. But since I read professionally, it gets used a lot. And so I'm really trying to be really gentle with it because it'll start separating the cards and, like I said,
maybe that one will hold up better. Maybe they've improved their production.
Yeah. No. You can already start to see because this deck, 3 weeks?
Oh, wow.
And it's already.
Already got some
3 weeks, yeah.
Edge damage.
Edge damage already. And, I'm like, yeesh. All right. So there's card 1, card 2, card 3, card 4, card 5. Let's skip 6.
Numbers are hard.
Yeah, I did.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 7.
Yeah, well, we didn't like number 6 anyway. So it's really a good card spread. It's like what you think I did 9. Apparently, I probably took the 9 upside down. It's probably a 6.
That's probably it.
Yeah, we're gonna go with that theory anyway.
Yep.
All right. So card number 1, 8 of swords.
It's fine.
It's fine. You know, you can see that. You can get up here. You know, we're only blindfolded, bound our hands, swords all around us, some water. Sort of the water's behind us in this case. So we definitely have that, you know, ooh, I'm trapped. I'm stuck. I can't get out. Even though I think it is a bit of an illusion or thing, because what happens is your feet aren't bound, so we can definitely work our way out of this a little fast. A little faster. There is a way to work out it. So it's not like I'm doomed. It just basically means, okay, I'm going to have to work and negotiate this really slowly to get myself out of this.
And the way that I see this card sometimes too is it times in our lives when we trap ourselves in our own way of thinking.
Yeah.
And so
Because
sometimes
swords, that whole mental aspect.
So sometimes we have to change our perspective to work our way out.
And what crowns us? Ooh, we had the Hierophant reversed. So I'm going to show it upright just so you can see the card and get ooh la la. But it is actually reversed in this case. So, you know, when you look at the Hierophant, you got the whole aspect of the wisdom and making wise choices. Maybe we have not made the wisest choices here. You know, clarify why we're stuck and put ourselves in this hole. You know, maybe, you know, things have been a little too loose. Because often, the Hierophant's about when it's reverses, you know, the dogma's not there, it's outside the box, right?
Right, yeah.
So maybe things have been too outside the box. And so this is sort of a balancing, trying to bring things back down and more contained.
I have a question.
Yeah.
All right. So when you're reading spreads where the cards are perpendicular, which convention do you use to determine if it's reversed?
If it's reversed, if the top of the card is facing to the right, then it's reversed. If it's facing to the left, then it's upright.
Okay.
So if I'd done this, then it would have been upright. So that's the convention I use on that one.
And if you're doing it and your thing is opposite that, it can work just fine. It just be consistent with how you do it, or you end up confusing yourself.
Yes, this is true. And just like this, you know, just like if I take the card, I put it that way, I'm going to put it this way. All right. So what's the underlying part? Well, now we have a Knight of Wands. Now we're talking about some action going on. We got some challenges here. We got, you got action on top of an action, because, you know, the Knights are the action cards.
Mm-hmm.
And I look at them as definitely there's challenges, the things we got to step up and meet. And when I see this card upright, I look at it as different challenges that we can do. They're still a challenge, but they're not. The difficulty is not going to necessarily be there. We just so things. If you just deal with it, and it will happen. It's not like, you know, when it's reversed, like we're going to deal with it. It's going to be a hard one, you know. So I look at it just being a little bit easier of a challenge.
And if you see this as the representing the seeker,
right?
But if you see this as what the seeker has to face,
is here's these challenges, but it's not beyond. It's probably not going to be basically. It's not going to be as bad as you think. It's almost one of those things you think things are going to be so bad that you almost don't do the action. You're stuck in inaction because, oh, how can I do this? How can I do this? But if you just started, you realize, okay, it wasn't that bad. You know, that kind of thing. All right. So here, what lies before us? You got the Two of Pentacles. So now we're dealing with those earth signs. Now we're doing that prosperity aspect of this. And this card has definitely got the yin and yang thing going. It's got the balance. And this card's a little bit different than some of the other ones where, you know, this card, sorry, I guess I should show that to you. She's not walking a tightrope.
No.
You know, but I will say there's a ship in the back on the crest.
That's a common theme in Rider-Waite themed decks.
You know, so it is, you know, in this case, what was it is I look at it as things moving into balance, things becoming a little more, the plus and the minuses becoming more balanced. So here, if I got maybe two out trapped, got from one extreme to the other extreme, now it's going to start moving more to that center line that maybe I'm looking for that balance. Of course, you got the infinity symbol there, you know, and this just shows me that, okay, even though moving into it, it's probably going to be a continuous struggle for me. This is not just going to be something that's going to go away tomorrow. Ooh, I restored balance, I'm good. It's you're going to have to maintain this forever. This is something you're going to struggle with. That's probably going to be around. So,
And one of the things that I note when we see the disturbed seas in the background and the ships going all topsy-turvy, that reminds me of when we're going through processes of finding a balance or making decisions, we need to be mindful of the underlying emotional stuff that may not be right at the surface, the stuff that may be driving us.
it definitely can come crashing down on you.
Mhm.
Yeah. All right. Dun. This one is advice. How to deal with this, how to embrace it, I guess. It's be willing to take a step. Be willing to step into the unknown. And if you're dealing with the Eight of Swords here, where you're blindfolded and you may not be able to necessarily see your way, it doesn't mean don't step. It means you may take small steps, but you still need to take that step. You need to still take that leap.
And that's the Fool card that has shown up in this position.
Oh, my bad. Sorry, I'm still talking to you. The Fool. And I was like, you can see the card. They can't. So it's the Fool. And that is that stepping off to see where we had. I may not know where I'm going to land, but it is a bit of an adventure.
And I sometimes I see the Fool as almost like Winnie the Pooh.
Yeah.
Willing to have the adventure, has no clue what's going on, still works through things. And the Ray Bradbury is supposed to have said, we have to take risks in life all the time. Sometimes we have to jump off the cliff and build our wings on the way down, and that's a good thing for the Fool.
And one thing about this card is a little bit different than some of the other Rider-Waite's. This one is stepping off, but the head is turned up to the side, so it's not even aware it's about to step off into the adventure that you're going to.
Mm-hmm.
But it's not being necessarily foolish in this case, which is reverse. It'll be going, you might want to make sure your feet are definitely more grounded. So how are others viewing this situation? Well, it looks like, they judgment. So we get the judgment card. There you guys go. Get the light out of it. And it's reversed. All right. So when you have the judgment card reversed, this is a failure to renew or so. So they're looking and going, you're really having a hard time, making this choice to rebirth, renew, bring yourself the whole reborn aspect, the phoenix from the ashes. As we always comment, back in the cauldron we go. Well, this is failing to get out of the cauldron. This is failing to get that new life started.
And his external perceptions, a little more literal interpretation, because when I'm reading the judgment card, it's almost never about being judged or judging. But in this case, it could be that outsiders are not perceiving this
in a positive light. Yeah. I would say definitely not positive light. All right. Boom. Let's see what this one has to show. Wow. We're just reversing ourselves to death today. So here is the World card. All right. And it's reversed. So, this is the, what to watch out for. I would definitely be looking at this one and going, okay, maybe I'm not quite ready to go through that door. It's often representative of unfinished work. So maybe to watch out in this case, I look at it and go, maybe there's a little more work I need to do. Maybe if that door, it pops up right when, I just can't jump through it yet. That I maybe need to take a little more time and vet things a little more, and take a little more time and make sure I've done the work in taking the steps I need to and met the challenges, being willing to restore the balance, to really step forward and go through that door when it's ready, because right now it's not ready.
And going in that, we might want to reconcile that conflict between the Fool and the World reversed, in that one is a card of faith, and the other there would be a card of preparation.
Yes.
So that could be the equilibrium that we're discussing here.
Right, and then how to balance that, take me. And so our outcome, really painful. Ouch. Ouch. The Three of Swords. Yeah, this card's always, I love getting this card. You're like, yeah, there's no really, it's like the Ten of Swords. There's really no way you can make that one look good.
It's hard.
It's like, yeah, pain. So, the big difference is the pain going to be happening from outside source, or is it going to be from an inside? And from the way I've been looking at this reading, I'm looking at this as probably going to be more of an internal. We're going to be inflicting the pain, maybe not on someone else necessarily, but in this case, definitely onto ourselves, because we have trapped ourselves for whatever reason. Maybe it's, Not like the Hangman, so it's a martyrdom card here, but definitely that. Almost, I want to say, like a self-loathing kind of thing. You know, it's that vibe.
And it could take on the take of grief in the sense that this really looks like having to move away from things we're accustomed to. And sometimes when we go through those changes in life, it leaves us grieving what we've left behind.
You know, even a bit maybe a little self-pity. You know.
Oh, woe is me card.
Yeah, the woe is me card, because you know, in that pain, but it was all done by myself, onto me from myself. So there's not a whole lot of outside sources here, you know, in this except for the judgment card, but that's its whole destination. All right, so you got any questions there, man? Any thoughts?
No.
Sorry, Stevie had to leave and go do an actual reading because she's actually on duty tonight. So, all right, that was mine. Hopefully, we can stall long enough till she gets back. I don't think she's gonna make it.
I'll go ahead and do mine.
Yeah.
So, mine is. You want to see the picture?
Already did.
Okay. There we go. So, mine is a back to school spread because a lot of folks are headed back to school. And I actually did some work because I know we're broadcasting elsewhere in the world as well, just to see if other folks have similar school schedules. And apparently there are breaks and stuff in other places. But there's that starting point. Not everybody sees school the same way I did. I always was very excited by the beginning of school. It got me off the farm and away from a bunch of chores, for one thing. But I enjoyed the learning experience and the opportunity to get into new things. Not everyone has that approach, but this spread is built around the idea of lessons we need to learn, things we need to do to learn new things or move along on our path. And I did something a little different with this one. Usually the significator or the querent or seeker is the first card. But in this case, the seeker is the final card. And that's related to this is the transformed individual after the lesson is learned and the work is done. What it starts off with is the lesson itself. We have teachers, homework, school supplies, our locker. I don't know if other folks in the world have lockers at their school, but
I don't want to go to school. I'm tired.
Then there's recess. I was telling my son about this spread, and I said recess, and he went, "Yay!" And then finally we have that seeker. For tonight, I'm using the Duloc Tarot. It's based on the art of, I think his name is Edmund Duloc. The 20s, 1908, 1920, around that era.
Is it Dulac or Duloc?
Yes.
If you know anyone from France is watching this, they're going to be slamming us.
I can barely speak English, so I'm doing good to say the words.
It's like trying to get hammered.
That's why I read cards, because there's pictures. So we're going to start with the lesson, the school supplies, the stuff we need to help us out along the way, the tools that we have that we can work with. The teachers, that's external, whether it's spiritual guidance or mentors or actual folks that can help us learn new things. Then we have the homework. That's the hard work and unpleasant stuff we got to do along the way. The locker, that's a place we can go for additional resources. It might be where we keep stuff that we don't need all the time. Recess, where we get to socialize, have some fun or networking. And then the changed seeker, the one that has learned the lesson, what that's going to look like. So on this deck, we're starting off with the Six of Wands reversed. Because this is based off of an artist's actual work and not designed specifically for tarot, they've chosen artwork for this. And in this card, the Six of Wands has a lady walking by the ocean with a couple of leopards. But as a reversed card, that's that fire kind of reversed, or even looking backwards. And what I'm getting off of this this card here is it's unstable energy, because that fire is the energy, willpower, and sixes are normally really stable.
Yeah, in reverse, the 6, often, maybe walking away from stuff that's a little more stable, moving ourselves into maybe an unknown, a little more rapids, a little white water here instead of a calm lake.
Learning to deal with uncertainty.
Yeah.
If this is our lesson, this is got to deal with some uncertainty and.
Well, there's not a lot of that going around the world right now, is there?
No. Everything's fine. Everything's fine. We're going to look at our school supplies.
That can be costly.
And here we have temperance, but she showed up reversed. So, so
in other words, don't go to the mall or go to the store and get in a fight over your binder or your rulers.
I've actually seen that happen. It's sad.
Yeah.
And in this card, she's carrying the water bottle. She's walking down a series of steps like she's moving the stuff forward. But as a resource or as a tool, it could mean that sometimes we've got to MacGyver our solutions along the way. We may not have.
Inflation may be so bad that we don't have all the resources or access to all the resources we normally would have had. Mm-hmm. So in that case, yeah, I can see the MacGyver figuring it out.
And here we have is that the Queen? They use some weird symbols on here.
Queen of Swords.
Queen of Swords. This is our a teacher or a mentor or a guidance.
Great.
Hard
ass.
Yeah. So this is going to be nobody's going to be coddling along this way, and sometimes learning to deal with uncertainty is itself the hard lesson.
And not only that, sometimes dealing with someone who's going to be more hard is also part of the lesson, because you will deal with people like that in the world. You will have to deal with certain people who are maybe not be so reasonable, and they're going to be unyielding or tough. And go ahead and learn now how to handle and deal with that. So later, if you your adulthood or your job or whatever, later on, you can deal with things like that. Everyone's going to be easy.
And the homework, I got the Two of Cups reversed.
Man, we just hit all the reverses today, aren't we?
Well, and this has that sense of with the Two of Cups being a connections card and the relationships card. It could be you got to do stuff yourself.
Yeah, and cross desires. I don't want to do homework. I don't want to do it, Mom. But no, in this case, yeah, I can definitely see how that split, that division, that you may not be able to rely on someone else here, that sometimes you have to stand on your own feet and make that happen.
And here with the locker, the additional resources, it's the Five of Swords.
Wow.
And in this one, it's a single, this lone woman, almost like she's walking out in the wilderness by herself. The fives are often unstable in the tarot.
Right, conflicts.
And in that mental aspect, it's really going to have to do with, again, I see a lot of take care of your own self.
Yeah, I see a lot of even your own mental welfare. And with the five, which can often represent defeat, it can represent things going in the background. So, here she has these woods and everything behind her, in this case. So what's going on in there that she doesn't know about? So it's often things unseen happening here.
So the locker might be as the stuff that's locked up in there that maybe needs to be paid attention to.
Right.
The Five of Wands is the recess card, but it's also reversed. So that Five of Wands in a Rider-Waite deck, it's a stick fight. It's five cats beating each other with sticks.
Yeah.
And in this card, what we see is it's almost like these three guys right here are kind of sneaking around in the woods, and almost like they're bandits, because in the background you can see a carriage coming. So but as a reversed card, that can indicate maybe
avoiding it,
or being a little more instead of being cautious of interactions with others, open up a little more. sometimes when we're struggling with things, it can cause us to retreat into ourselves. Maybe this is saying that in this recess position, don't be quite as cautious.
And I always look at that card. It's time to end struggles. You know, because here you get these struggles. So here's this time that we can bring those to an end.
Instead of like the combat of it being upright, it's more of like that communication, like kind of reconciliation aspect in some regards of just like maybe not quite so harsh.
Maybe we can talk ourselves through this.
We don't have to get our sticks.
Yeah.
When did you get back?
She's reappeared.
Teleported here. That's amazing. And as the seeker card, the one at the end, the one who hopefully has learned the lesson,
Hopefully.
we have the Three of Wands. And in this card, it's a woman sort of staring out over the wall of her garden. And in a lot of decks, I see it as a card of patience. It's put stuff out there and allow what you've done to develop. But in this, it has sort of a wistful, longing, did I do the right thing kind of feel.
Yeah, I always look at the Three of Wands. It's okay, that visualization, knowing where I have to be. You know, so if it's upright, I go, I know I got to get over to that mountain over there. I know I can see my goal. I can see. Sometimes I forget how to get there. So often the Three of Wands, sometimes you look at your feet.
Considering the other cards, this could be a card of the lesson itself is a lesson in reassessment.
Yes. So, all right. Anything on that one, Stevie?
The Three of Wands is definitely that almost looking at how much energy you have to expend to get there. Expend to get there. These are muscles that maybe you haven't flexed before. You're not really sure how to flex, and so how do we get there without ripping our muscles out of our entire body?
Yeah, we want to pull a muscle here.
Yeah.
All right. So that, and Stevie's just back in time for her.
It's Leo season. So with this spread, it's pretty straightforward as far as all the ones I've done this year. It's all about the sign of Leo specifically. A lot of people kind of bag on Leo because like they're so egotistical. They're just so like me focused, and maybe sometimes, yeah. But really looking in at the ego, it's a very useful and interesting tool to analyze and figure out kind of how we present the world and how we really use and exercise all of ourselves out into it. So with this one, we have our first card, which is where we start the season. Number 2 is going to be, where does our ego really shine? What are some of its best assets? How do we highlight those things? Likewise with card 3, it's kind of the inverse. It's kind of the opposite of, maybe this could do some work. This could just be better. This might be something that is detrimental to some of those higher points you have within the ego. So maybe just chill. Maybe just work on them, look at them. We have card number 4, which is how we work to harmonize these different aspects of ourselves. The highs and the lows, and kind of find a nice happy medium, perhaps. And then the card number 5 is, where do we leave the season? Kind of all this growth, hopefully, hopeful change and hopeful growth we've made. How does that really kind of culminate? And where do we go as we go into Virgo season? Because that is my warning that the next card will be Virgo, or the next thing will be Virgo.
Foreshadowing?
Foreshadowing, because you can't do that with the zodiac, right? Where we start the season is overburdened as hell.
Which deck are you using tonight?
1908 Rider-Waite? Yes. Whatever year it is.
1908 was the first year it was published.
We're going to go with that then. So where we start the season, we start with a 10 of Wands. You were over encumbered. You kind of have a little bit too much on your plate, and now you're just kind of having to struggle through it a little bit, or kind of fail a little. You're kind of setting yourself up for failure a little.
And
It's heavy.
A little heavy.
sometimes I see the 10 of Wands as I've gathered all of my stuff, but it also shows up sometimes as, wait, why am I carrying everybody else's sticks?
Yeah, like you're so, congratulations, like especially when you kind of look at it throughout the lens of like the rest of the wands, like you're so good at all the stuff, you really have all these things going for you, you're able to take on this load, and they kind of like wrap up and you're like, what happened? Why do I have so much?
Well, yeah, and you know the Robinwood deck and even the Heaven Earth deck, you know, Robinwood shows a little bit more where you got a downhill to the village, to your home. That's how I sort of look at it. And, you know, depending on what deck it is, how far is that home going to be? Because it means, how far are you going to carry this? You know, well, maybe downhill, but that's a 3-mile hike, with a lot of weight. You know, you may get crushed before you get home.
Right. So really kind of re-looking at and deciding whether or not certain things are yours to carry or need to continue to be carried is where we're starting the season. That's super
Yay.
fun. We have our kind of positive of the ego, the highlight of the ego. We have the Ace of Swords, but reversed. There's the upright.
Don't do it.
Maybe don't do that. The Ace of Swords when upright is always kind of this opportunity being presented, but you don't really have the most. It's very clear cut. It's very straightforward. It's not like some of the other aces where there's a lot of accoutrement. It's like you had to kind of really parse down and figure out what you needed to let go of in order to really have that nice clean beginning. Here, the beginning with it being reversed might be a little bit muddier. You might have to take on and carry forward a little bit more than you would have liked to.
There's no clear-cut way of dropping all this weight.
You have to actually kind of really very critically think it through before just like dropping.
And one way that the Ace of Swords can present itself as well is the machete of the thing that we use to cut the
Right.
stuff.
It's not a scalpel. It's like a machete.
Yeah, it's the thing that we can use to help clear stuff out.
All right. Where is the ego not working? The Page of Swords, also reversed. You're not good at using that machete. The pages and even knights as well kind of vary between, I think, the three of us. For me, the pages are students. They have so much want and desire and so much ambition, but Jesus Christ, they don't know what they're doing. And this one in particular, it's not like you have like a nice cup of water. You have a sword, ma'am, and how you begin kind of cutting away some of this and how you begin kind of parsing through some of this, not going to be neat and tidy.
And show them the card.
Right. This is reversed.
And one of the things that I use when I'm reading too sometimes is the way that the cards are facing. So in this case, the card is looking towards the next card, but stepping towards the Ace of Swords, and so it's almost an indecision kind of thing.
Yeah, like I don't know what I'm doing.
And I've sometimes called this card, especially in this deck when reversed, as the running with scissors card. So maybe slow your roll a little bit.
Maybe slow down. Really think it. Really think. Speaking of running towards the next card, what you should do? What should you do in order to really reconcile these two parts of the self? Is the Tower card.
Burn it to the ground.
Blow it up. Sometimes you can't pick and choose. You maybe don't have that opportunity, or the things that you're holding to begin with are just kind of stupid, or just not really needed or necessary or worth the thought. Sometimes the best thing you can do is, proverbially for legal reasons, blow them up. Just deal with the consequences.
Yeah, sometimes picking up the pieces is, and we've talked about the fallacy of invested cost. What was that called?
Oh, the sunk cost fallacy.
Sunk cost fallacy.
Yeah.
Yes.
Sometimes we got to let it. We just got to say, okay, this is complete failure. Let's rebuild.
Yes.
Well, anyway, that sucks. Let's do something else.
And this would explain why our page may be going, oh crap, tower's coming. I'm not sure I want to do that.
I can look at the tower and acknowledge it, but I don't want that.
And sometimes we got to step right up to it and say, all right, bring it.
Yeah.
Let me light the match.
Yeah. So in good news, having the kind of polar opposite in a lot of ways feeling here, our outcome as we kind of go and wrap up the season and move into Virgo is the sun. So while the kind of have to, need to card isn't exciting or fun, it does really kind of give you that sense of catharsis and that sense of relief. And that.
Well, yeah, I mean, think about it. When you burn everything down, everything collapses.
Yeah.
The stress, the worry is really over.
Right.
Because usually before that, your Page of Swords is dealing with that.
Yeah.
So once it's done and the waste has been laid, it's over.
Yeah.
You're right. And then it can relieve a lot of pressure and anxiety can be gone,
Yeah.
giving you a much more happier and joyful aspect because, okay, I've been at the bottom now, I can work my way back up and,
Right.
And keep moving.
There's that song, Here Comes the Sun, kind of casting that new light on things, allowing you to see things in a different perspective.
Especially just looking at like the order of the cards aspect to it. You've kind of gone through this thing that gives you a lot of experience. Now you're kind of ending up here with the sun of just, well, now I know. I've been through it, so hopefully this experience moving forward, at least if I encounter it again, is a little bit less daunting. It's more of just.
All right. That was it. That was great. I'd like to thank everyone for tea and Tara at Books, Beans, and Candle again. Remember, we have the psychic fair the 24th of September.
Hey, for our folks that aren't local, where are we?
Well, you're right. We're in Birmingham, Alabama. Good point. Although I think it actually isn't our thing. But we're in Birmingham, Alabama, so obviously United States. And the shop is Books, Beans, and Candle. And just let you guys know, if you are local and you're watching this, we actually do this in person. So as soon as we get done with this video cast, we're actually going to go upstairs and hold it in person. And people come in, we can practice reading for each other and different people. And we'll actually have a few more spreads for that one. So we just don't limit it to one for each because we don't have the time constraint as much here. So that's what we do. Yeah.
And if you choose to come and you don't have your own deck, no worries. I bring the big bag of decks every time.
So we have lots of decks people can share and use. And of course, if you have your deck, maybe you see a deck you like, we do carry tarot cards here, so you can actually purchase them and partake.
Just grab some.
That's right. So if you're interested in the psychic fair, give us a call. Of course, you have to be here for that. That one we can't do on the phone.
Yeah.
But we'd love to have you guys and shout us out. All right, guys.
I'll be doing graphical representations of these spreads and posting them to the shop's Facebook page and mine and Stevie's as well. So you'll have more available for that over the weekend.
All right. So I guess the next stream we'll be doing is Magic City Pagan. So that's going to be the 4th Thursday in August. So a couple weeks from now, or about 3 or 4. 3 or 4. So that'll be coming up. So we'll see you then. Thank you guys very much. And have a great night.
Safe journeys.